Later on in this show will be my take on the Moto G4, but there's even more from Motorola here, the Moto Z Play, effectively a slightly lower spec version of the standard Moto Z, yet to hit the UK and most of the world, with a monster 3500 mAh battery and the same Moto Mods magnets and pogo pins as the more expensive versions of the phone. It'll be cheaper too, which is just as well, as you may also want to fork out for the latest Moto Mod from camera makers Hasselblad. The True Zoom camera mod offers 10 times optical zoom, OIS and Xenon flash. Well, hey, there's a 1/2.3 inch 12 megapixel sensor, but all processing and all battery power comes from the attached phone. With some smart camera app mods by Motorola, the experience is surprisingly smooth. For example, the True Zoom power button powers on the accessory and launches the camera app on the phone. Mind you, focusing performance is currently abysmal, so here's hoping for some serious work by Motorola's software team. Can they rescue this one? Until then, I'm sticking with my Xenon-equipped Nokias for Xenon action, and they're a lot thinner. It's tough to evaluate this, the brand new HP Elite X3, but that's because it's not finished. I've borrowed this retail unit from the wonderful folks at Clove, but even HP admit that it's in dire need of updates. You see, it was shipped by HP with the old Threshold build of Windows 10 Mobile, notable because it doesn't support fingerprint scanners, which the Lumias didn't need. Yet the X3 has one here, and it doesn't work at all, and won't until the Windows 10 so-called anniversary update, aka Redstone, hits the X3 and an over-the-air update mid-September, along with new firmware to fix up a camera that underperforms woefully. Here's a few samples. So why review it? Well, I'm not. This is more a preview. I'm going to come back to evaluate the HP Elite X3 properly in a couple of months' time, when we might also have all the accessories available, not least the rather spiffing and no doubt too expensive HP laptop. Your phone is your laptop, etc. It's an ambitious concept made possible by Continuum and appeals to me, though the need for one device to do everything isn't as compelling as it would have been, say, 5 years ago. In 2016, the internet is kind of your computer in terms of accounts and services and what's available. Still, it'd be nice to have everything signed in and ready to go and authenticated by a fingerprint. Oh, hang on. Via an iris scanner. Lumia style, this has one of those as well. The internals of the X3 are terrific. Snapdragon 820 chipset, 4GB of RAM, 64GB of built-in storage plus microSD, stereo Bang & Olufsen branded speakers, 13 megapixel camera, huge 4150 mAh battery, pogo pin expansion on the bottom, plus USB Type-C with 3 amp charging. Phew! Then it's waterproof, dustproof and shockproof. To mil spec. You can see why HP wants to charge a premium for this. No glass back, of course, just tough plastic. But the downside is that the Elite X3 doesn't feel like it's worth the money. And until the issues have been fixed with updates, the Elite X3 can't be recommended at, in this case, £700, including the Continuum desktop from Clove. The camera performs like that in a £100 budget phone currently. The Bang & Olufsen speakers on the front pale besides that from almost every other phone with front-facing speakers. Here's a demo. This is a bit of a difference. It's full volume. It's really too quiet and there's not enough fidelity. It's not terrible, but it's not up where it needs to be. Maybe this too can be fixed with an update to the audio drivers. Let's hope so for Bang & Olufsen's reputation. Windows 10 Mobile and Continuum are what HP's counting on, selling the X3 as an all-in-one solution to businesses, to enterprise over the next 12 months. But they've got quite a few ducks to line up in a row first. The X3 is nowhere near ready yet. Will it be ready? Will it be worth a premium price in due course? I can see a firmware updated X3 selling with the lap dock as a bundle for £800 max later in 2016. That's still a tough sell, mind you, but at least it might be justified. In the meantime, watch this space. I intend to pretend the X3 is a brand new smartphone, again in October or even November, and then I can deliver a proper verdict. But on to a more concrete and bug-free product. This is the new Moto G4. £160 all in, SIM-free in the UK and no doubt even cheaper on pay-as-you-go plans everywhere. You'll recall that I rather slammed the Honor 5C recently, and the specification here isn't much different. in theory, while the G4 is £10 more. However, there's attention to detail in terms of components that was simply missing from the Huawei folks. With the G4, you get a fabulous 5.5-inch 1080p screen, but it's protected by Gorilla Glass 3 this time and an oleophobic coating, giving a premium touch experience, unlike the Honor 5C. Top marks Motorola, or do I mean Lenovo these days? Then there's the speaker, which is simply stunning, probably the same component as in each end of the Moto X Style and Nexus 6. It's beautifully full and crisp. Just a shame there's only one here and not the full stereo spread. This is a demo. This is full volume. It's up here. I will admit that it's probably quieter than the Elite X3s you heard just now, but there's so much more fidelity and quality. It's not harsh. You also get a grippy matte finish on the back, a really rather splendid 13 megapixel camera that overperforms. See these sample photos. A larger 3000 mAh battery and quick charge 2 compatibility via micro USB. So you don't get the relatively expensive high voltage turbocharger in the box, just a standard 500 mAh gadget. A toy really, suitable only for overnight charges. At this point you're going to be wondering what the catch is for a £160 all-in phone. Well, the chipset's a Snapdragon 617, but it's honestly fine for 99% of what the target market will need, and there's 2 GB of RAM, of course the 2016 minimum for smooth operation. The other catch, if you see it like that, is that there's no fingerprint scanner or NFC. Now, the target users won't care much. That's your teenage kids probably, the Moto G's typical aim point. And also, you probably don't want them spending your money using their phone on your credit card. So maybe it's best it doesn't have the Android Pay facility. The G4 is only available in black and white, though the back cover does come off. I will demonstrate. No battery access, sob. And it should be child's play for Motorola or a third party to produce alternative backs in various garish colours, maybe with 21 pilots or 5 seconds of summer, or whatever. We're talking teenagers. The G4 is classed as water resistant thanks to the usual Motorola nano coating inside. It's a very different approach to Samsung's, for example, which puts gaskets around all entry points but doesn't protect the chips itself. Here the G4 will happily survive an occasional accidental dunking in a toilet or a bath, but best to whip it out as soon as possible, I think. And being plastic with a back that just snaps off and with a raised screen surround, the G4 should be pretty robust in teenage hands when dropped. The Moto G4 is almost completely stock Android 6 with some, though not all, of the usual Motorola additions, all small but helpful though. The ambient display when you move the phone or a notification comes in, the double chop to turn on the torch, I shall demonstrate. The double twist to turn on the camera. The pick up to stop ringing, the flip for do not disturb, etc, etc. Curiously, the assist features from higher end Motorola devices are missing, perhaps because no one in the target market is likely to know to fiddle with these in the first place. We're not talking power users here. So the G4 is effectively a Nexus, a very cheap Nexus, and all the better for it. Motorola has chosen its components very, very well indeed. Apart from the understandable lack of stereo speakers, this is the perfect 2016 smartphone for a teenager on the go. There's also the G4 Plus, adding a better camera and a fingerprint scanner, but curiously no NFC. Eh? That doesn't make sense. Anyway, stick with the vanilla Moto G4 if I were you. It can't be beaten in terms of ready to use, out of the box, Android polish and value for money.